of our show is not to tear down John as a person. The point of our show is to goof on podcasts. The reason why we've gotten to this place is because John threatened to break my legs and sue me. And I don't take kindly to those types of threats. So now we're talking about private DMs he's having with people asking for child support payments because he has no money. Stuttering John is broke. This is a fact that we have uncovered here at WATP. I feel like Chris Hansen. I'm uncovering shit.
Dude, he hates me because fucking the first time, this is the story, the first time I ever worked with him, well, I'd met him before, and then I'm doing a show with Artie at the Nokia Center in LA, right? And I bump into him, and, you know, he's on the show because Artie's such a nice fucking guy, Artie Lang, of course. And I say, hey, John, how you doing? He's like, who are you? And I don't care that you don't know me, but it's the way he said it. I'm like, Geno Bisconte, we met a couple times. He's like, oh, I'm like, so I try to be nice. This is after they shuttled him into the back room of the Tonight Show because the only reason fucking whatchamacallit Leno took him is because rather than fucking try and get young viewers, he thought he'd get the edgy ones by bringing. So he's so oblivious. To quote the fucking movie, he's so obtuse to how untalented he is. He's like, you know, now I'm just doing comedy. And that always gets me. Fucking Anthony Cumia says it perfectly. It must drive actual comedians like you guys crazy to know that famous people are like, they look at comedy like the life raft on the fucking Titanic. Well, I can always get that if things don't go well.
Yeah, he's like literally Screech. He's like Screech from Saved by the Bell. It's like, oh, you guys know my name? Then I'm coming to your comedy club.
Yeah, Jeremy Piven, and he literally is like, he's like, I'm doing comedy now. I'm like, oh my God. So we do the show, and it's such a layup because it's Artie Lang, it's the Nokia Center, but the smaller one, but it's still huge, like 2,000-3,000 people, and it's literally 5 minutes each, and it's a tag team. So I go up and I bring up Dean Del Rey. Dean Del Rey goes up and he brings up Stuttering John. Stuttering John goes up and he brings up Artie. So I go up 5 minutes and I kill. Let me explain what that means. I could have said Artie Lang is coming out in a few minutes for 5 straight minutes and they would have went nuts.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I've been to Artie Lang stand-up shows before. Yeah. It's chaos.
Yeah, and they know me from the podcast. I used to do the Artie Quitter podcast. So,
right.
So everything I say, like I just, I'm playing with house money, and I do great. Okay, hand it off to Dean Del Rey, who they don't know, and they're in such a great mood, and they know we're only doing, and he crushes. Stuttering John goes out there and stinks up the room. Stinks up the room because 1, he's not funny. 2, he literally played his cell phone. He thought it'd be funny, and if you weren't obtuse, you would know 99% of the people went there to shit on you, and 1% went because that's Stuttering John. So he bombs so badly. He walks off stage out bringing up Artie. He gets to the side and Artie's looking at him like, what the fuck are you doing? And he goes back and he brings up Artie. Then fast forward to a year later, and we've said this about comedy so many times. Like I love, I'll say, like, I do well 99% of the time. This is my job. But when I have a bomb set and the shit I talk about, it happens. You can listen to a clip from Tuesdays with Stories from a month ago when me and Aaron Berg, my co-host, were on some show in Bushwick, Brooklyn. They hated me, and we were losing our mind laughing about it. And I'll remember it forever. It was so much fun, right? I'm doing jokes about the Holocaust, and some uptight white chick goes, get off the stage, and boo. And she goes, and I say to her, I'm like, if you say get off the stage one more time, I will. And then I waited a beat and said, tell 3 Holocaust jokes. And she was halfway through get off this, and I did. At any rate, so he bombed. A year later, I'm doing the Artie Quitter podcast. He shows up, and I'm like, hey, John. He's like, who are you? And I'm like, that's it. And he starts making excuses of how he didn't bomb, how people were talking. So every time on that fucking podcast, he's like, I was on, what he does? He's like, when I was on the Tonight Show, I would interrupt him and say, you were on the Tonight Show? And he would get mad. And I did it like 5 or 6 times.
It's so easy to fuck with him.
Yeah, and then one time I go, you were on the Tonight Show? He goes, yeah, what the fuck were you on? And I go, nothing, but you were on the Tonight Show, and he never forgot it. And he's such a disingenuous piece of shit. And that's all I've ever, and then when I went to Compound Media, fucking Anthony was still friends with him. And I'm like, he's a piece of shit. And he's like, I'm like, trust me. And then he turned, and he fucking just doubles, he said, what was the lie? He's like, I was supposed to be the co-host on Compound Media. No, you weren't. You were never in the conversation. He fucking calls out Artie saying he stole it from me, told me not to take it. I talked to Keith the cop fucking months before when he said, he's like, we're thinking of bringing in a co-host, either Artie or Opie. And that was it.
Yes.
But he lies, and he just sits there and believes his own fucking lies. And I mean, you'd have to be a stupid cunt who believes COVID, everyone should wear masks to ever entertain the idea of fucking them. That's a callback to that broad who talked for 20 fucking minutes just now, although it's only 5. I'm sure you'll edit down that dizzy bitch. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Stuttering John.
Which is a perfect segue into our next segment of the show. Yeah. I've never talked so little on my podcast. So I'm listening to Stuttering John the other day, and I get very excited when he says this.
Opie will be on Thursday at Beer on the Balcony. So I'm just telling you, subscribe to my Patreon. Last week, Beer on the Balcony, I featured Steven Grillo.
Oh, Opie is going to be on Beer on the Balcony. Now, as you probably know, Geno, because you're a big fan of Stuttering John, as you just stated, when he does his Beer on the Balcony shows, that's for Patreon supporters only, of which I believe there's about 15. So,
quit bragging. Sure.
Yeah, so if you want to hear Beer on the Balcony, you have to give him $5 a month. Oh, except for the fact that he doesn't know how to make a video on YouTube private. He makes them all public, so it's readily available for anyone to watch.
I love it. I didn't realize that was why it was so easy to get to.
Yes, that's why I sent you that link, and I was like, I recorded it right away just in case he realized that it was public, but he didn't. It's still up there. He's a fucking idiot. So this is him introducing Opie. Opie comes on the show. Did you watch this video, Geno?
I watched it twice. It was so, because he's terrible. And remember, like, I watched it and I texted you, and you're like, let's not talk about it till the show. I'm like, I don't give him enough credit. I couldn't stop laughing at him. Then I listened to the reply guys. I'm like, oh no, she's just terrible on every level. And then I went back and I was listening to it this morning, cracking the fuck up again. That was when I caught they never, my son didn't ask to be a celebrity. Yeah, you keep asking to be one, and you're not, you fucking idiot. So yeah, I dabbled in it.
This was amazing because this is John on his balcony in sunny LA, and Opie is in his Zen room, he calls it, with candles lit. He looks like a Sith master. He looks like a villain from Star Wars in this video. There's very little light coming on him. His hair is all long and shaggy. He brags about how he hasn't gotten a haircut since March. This is a multimillionaire we're talking about. So this is John introducing Opie, and this couldn't be a funnier introduction. I mean, if I had Opie on my show, I wouldn't think to do this. This is so funny.
Soon we will find out when we talk to my next guest, host or co-host of the Opie and Anthony Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello.
He's a dipshit.
Gregg,
He's a fucking dipshit.
What do you mean the co-host of the Opie and Anthony Podcast? What's wrong with you, Stuttering John?
Well, I don't know. How would you say, the host or the co-host? I don't know.
I'm not with Anthony anymore.
Epic fail.
Opie still didn't, or John still didn't get it. It's like, well, what did I say wrong? All he wanted to do was bring Opie on to trash Anthony Cumia. That was the only point of the show. They do over an hour. They talk about Anthony Cumia, and he doesn't realize that there's no such thing as the Opie and Anthony podcast. How is that possible?
Yeah, it was never a podcast. So he was dumb to say he's the host of Opie and Anthony, but that wasn't wrong enough. He added podcast.
Yes.
It'd be like saying Donald Trump just got elected president of Cambodia. No, neither. No.
So later on in the show, near the end, John makes it very clear he does not listen to Opie's show, and Opie gets offended by this.
And now who is your co-host now? Is it Bubba?
No, it's not Bubba.
Someone tweeted me that.
You don't listen to my podcast. That's hilarious.
Nobody listens to your podcast. In John's defense, nobody listens to your podcast. Geno, I got to apologize in advance. I have a million clips from this show because there was nothing I couldn't clip from this show.
I understand because I'm like, let me take a note when he said something funny. I'm like, let me take a note after 3 minutes of trying to like switch over from my phone to write it down. I'm like, there's too much. I'll just have to wing it because there's too fucking much. Did you get the clip of when he called him Ant?
Yep,
and
I
then
got it right
said
here.
Opie?
Yep, here it is.
Hey, Opie, is there any way that you could turn any light on? Because you're very dark.
What a dummy.
That was right out of the gate. He's got Anthony on the brain.
These are two nobodies. He's trying to fucking neg him. These are two nobodies. Like, could you turn up the light? Oh, I like it dark. It's like, I don't care enough about your podcast. You're not winning. You're not winning the battle of fucking. It's like winning Alaska. You're not trying to get 3 electoral votes here. You're done. No one gives a fuck. Oh, you got him. You're definitely the alpha dog here, dude.
You ready for the understatement of the year right here from Opie?
Yeah.
You know, I've moved on with my life and my career, and I really enjoy what I do now. I'm not as successful. I don't make as much money, but.
Oh, you think you're not as successful as you were when you were the host of a national radio show?
Oh my God! Like this is what they do. It's like. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, they act like it's a path they've chosen.
Right.
I mean, it's like, well, I'm really, because it seems like you're so insecure. You pushed everyone away from you, dude. I love the part when he says, yeah, it was my idea to hire Jim Norton. No, it wasn't. No, just stop it. Just fucking stop it.
So, real quick, before we move on from that clip that I just played, I want to zoom in. He says the word career. He's talking about his career. And listen to the cognitive dissonance happening in his head. He realizes he does not have a career anymore, and it fucks with his brain, and he stops talking for a minute.
Down with my life and my career, and
my career. I don't have a career. He doesn't even have advertisers anymore. He's just doing a Facebook Live show and then putting it out as if it were a podcast.
He's another one that oh my God, he goes like this is what it ties back into the thing I'm saying about Kate. They live a lie, they believe their lies. What's the word you use? Echo chamber. And he literally says, he's like, when he's talking, he's like, yeah, he's like, I've really phased it back. I'm enjoying the pod. No one listens to the podcast. No one does. You sit there and say, we had this guest like, oh, they want me to do the old ones with God bless him, Diaz and fucking God forgive me, I can't remember the 2 guys that passed away. It's just too hard to dig them up and put them. There's nothing worth digging up. Stop it. No one cares. No one cares. It was you just flailing it. Let me bring in guests that people that will make the podcast look relevant. It didn't. The talent there, it's no question, were Jimmy and Anthony, not necessarily in that order if you ask Jimmy or Anthony. It's just sad that this is what they do. It's like, well, I'm just going to put out a pod. Why?
Well, the saddest part is because podcasting has leveled the playing field. Yes, if you have a celebrity name, you're going to get more listeners out of the gate. And I think Opie debuted at like number 2. So out of the gate, Opie Radio, people are listening to it. It has steadily fallen. Well, actually, it's quickly fallen since then because people heard the content and went, this is not for me. But what's so funny is that Opie is doing John's show because he's hoping to get more listeners from it. Now, I don't know if Opie realizes that Beer on the Balcony is supposed to be for 12 people at most, but he says this at the end of the interview.
And I'm going to check the numbers to see if my numbers go up after this, you son of a bitch.
Look, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. It's been a great time.
It's at the very end of the show. I'm going to check to see if my numbers go up. Guess what, Opie? They won't. Nobody's checking out Stuttering John and going, oh, who's this interesting fella he's interviewing this week? That's how that works at all. All right, let's get into the Anthony talk.
By the way, and he never does fix the lighting. He never does.
No, he doesn't care.
I mean, it should be called, this podcast should be called Ghost Stories because it looks like he's telling one, and that's what their careers are. It's like, it's awful. And by the way, you have to suffer the best. The even funnier than all this insanity is the first 5 minutes when he's literally talking with his fucking headset plugged in through the mic. It's like, who wants to listen to an hour and a half of this? Thank God that stopped.
I have that too. Somebody tells him, because he's looking at YouTube live and people are chatting, and somebody tells him his audio sucks, and his immediate response is to disagree with them.
Cheers, everybody. Horrible audio. This is always my balcony audio. I don't know how it could be any different.
So then he realizes right away that he's wrong.
Hold on.
Fucking terrible.
Oh, I see what's going on. Sorry about that.
All right, now it should be fixed.
So it's funny that his first instinct is that he's the one who's right. When has that ever happened? He doesn't know how to work his equipment at all.
Admit it, as much as it was so grating to listen to, you were a little disappointed that he found out how to fix it. I was a little disappointed.
Just a little bit. It would have been more fun.
I'm not going to lie to you. I was a little disappointed.
All right, so the only thing John wants to talk to Opie about is Anthony Cumia. So let's get into that.
You know, most people that get trashed by him, they honestly don't know why it's such an avalanche of hate and abuse.
Yeah, look, this is how weird it was. I did Anthony's show, like I always did.
Yeah.
And then he came to my stand-up show.
Yeah.
And My brother sat right near him. Anthony was laughing the whole time.
Yeah.
Tells me I did a great job. Goes back on the air and trashes me nonstop. And I was like, I couldn't believe it.
All right, so Geno, I think you probably picked up on what I'm going to talk about here. And this is
he said he laughed every single time.
Yeah.
4 fucking times in this podcast.
Yes.
And he didn't. He didn't. And let me tell you, I believe the part where he goes up after the show and he's probably like, watch you be John and be like, hey, how was my set? And you're asking me because I never laughed once, incidentally. But just ask me, how was my set?
Geno, thanks so much for coming out to my show. What'd you think about my set tonight?
It was good, John. Let's go get a drink at the bar. That was really, let's go get a drink. Yeah, that's what you would say.
John takes every compliment. It's just someone being polite to him. And he takes it as if it is their word. Like, will you put that in writing and sign it, please?
And whenever you're hanging, and I don't know where this show was because it wasn't at the Cellar. I mean, no. I guarantee, I'm starting to realize he's lying about even going on stage because there's no place Stuttering John gets. I'm going to text Anthony right now. There's no place in New York Stuttering John gets on stage. There's none. There's none.
I think he was saying it was at Governor's. Is that possible?
Oh, that might be possible. You're right. I'm gonna text him. So go on.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, but he keeps saying, he says it 4 times. It's like, do you understand? Let me tell you what I just said. I just said, yeah, I do really well, but I got to tell you about this story. I told you a story about where I bombed on stage, and It's fucking funny. Imagine, watch this. Ask me what I'm doing tonight. Ask me what I'm doing tonight.
What are you doing tonight, Geno?
I got a show. I'm going to do great. It's going to be so funny. I did a show at this place a couple months ago, and they loved me. It was hilarious. It was. I'm so funny. And the guy called me up, and who cares?
Yeah. You sound like you're not real sure of yourself when you have to keep repeating how amazing you are all the time.
Yeah.
I have another example of this. He's talking to Opie about when he left the Howard Stern show. Howard took him aside and said, you know what, John? I wish I had kept you. I should have put you in the Jackie chair. And
oh my God, I wanted to reach it. What a lie. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was galling.
But it
was galling.
This is, again, when someone's just trying to be polite, this is what you say to someone who's leaving. I've had people leave my company. I always have polite things. I'm never like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. It's always, I'm so sorry to see you go. This sucks.
But let me tell you something about Howard. He's miserable off stage. Back then he was miserable. And I'll tell you, I've never met him, so you can take this with a grain of salt. But I can tell you, everyone that's ever talked to him off stage, they don't say, what an asshole. They're like, he's miserable. Shuley says it all the time. Florentine says it all the time. Levy says it all the time. But suddenly, Stuttering John, who betrayed him in his mind, betrayed Howard in his mind, fucking betrayed him, he's going to say that to him. That's a lie. Howard didn't even, when Artie sat in the Jackie chair, he didn't call it the Jackie chair. He never wanted that to happen again. He's like, that was Artie. And then when Artie was gone, he's like, we're done with that. He doesn't even like the phrase Jackie chair. Right. Why would he use it? It's a fucking lie.
Listen to Opie laugh out loud at John when he tells this story.
And he goes, John, I'm not mad at you, but I should have put you in the Jackie chair, and I should have had you in the studio full time.
He's thinking of it as he goes along. I'm sorry, I'm not letting you play this. I should have.
Yeah, I apologize. I do have to play the part where Opie openly laughs at him for telling this story. It's okay.
I could give you 3 of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten in comedy, and I would fucking gush as I said them. I wouldn't be like, but go on. I apologize to the listeners. Go on.
No, you picked up on something that's key in that, where he's not even sure what he's going to say when he starts saying it. That's a really good point. I didn't even pick up on that. Yeah. And I'm usually astute, but I did not pick up on that one. All right, let's listen to this again.
Had you in the studio full time, and he actually was feeling bad about his decision. And
Opie goes, yeah, okay. Because
my God.
Think about this, Geno. According to Stuttering John, when he left to go on the Tonight Show, Howard Stern was like, damn it, all I have is Artie Lang in the Jackie chair, and I could have had Stuttering John. Boy, did I fuck up. Like, no one's better than Artie Lang in that chair.
No one. He still gets work because of what he did in that chair, and he deserves it. By the way, he was on DePaulo's podcast this week. People always ask me how he's doing. And I always say, And I was right. And it wasn't like a prediction, but it was so obvious. He was holed up with his mother. His mother's an old Italian broad. She's like, you're not hanging out with any of these fucking people. You're coming on with me. And he's doing great. So that was good to hear. But that's what goes on. Like, Artie is what we talk about. Like, I'm lucky because I have an addictive personality, but Artie is such a slave to comedy. All he worries about is the next joke at his own peril, in a way. You know what I mean?
I was going to bring that up. It was great to hear Artie on Thursday. It was on Nick DiPaolo's show. Artie's doing well, but yeah, he's following the program. He's just trying to stay sober, and he claims he's 2 years sober, which I, for some reason, kind of believe, which is hard because he's always lied about that. But he seems like he's doing really well, and apparently his show is coming back. They have a new platform that they're going to be launching, so that's exciting because actually the last podcast that Artie was doing, Halfway House, was really good, and there's a 2-parter with Anthony on there. But he was doing a good show. I'm trying to think
who was episode 4. It was me.
Geno was also on Halfway House. Don't miss that.
Good. He literally said, he's like, look, I want you on the first week. It'll be like a home game. I'm like, oh. Nice. Wait, let me say it again. He said, I want you on the first week.
Wait, he paid you a compliment? Let's talk about that for a half an hour.
Oh, he did. Dude, here are some of the compliments. I'll tell you, Chrissy Mayer and Kevin Dombrowski, another great young comedian, when they first started their podcast, both of them basically said, can you do the first show? It'll be so easy.
Shut the fuck up. That's
I'm
enough.
Not kidding.
That's enough with you complimenting yourself. That's all we do here, Geno. We're not here to talk about how great we are. We're talking about how shitty other people are. That's the whole point of this.
Do you understand? Like, you remember these things, and they come up in conversation. It's not like you steer it that way and you say, trust me, I have so few compliments. There's no uhs. I've got all 5 fucking memorized, Carl. I know them by heart.
I watched you on Chrissy's very first show, and we made fun of it here on WATP, but that's beside the point. That's not what we're talking about.
I listened to it. You actually made fun of her more than me, and I'm like, are they making fun of me? Like, I think they're on my side. It was funny.
We love you, Geno.
Oh, and you called out In Hot Water, and you said, you're like, it's a dumb show, but we love it. It was, dude, I see the compliment and everything. Maybe these weren't compliments, but go on, dude. I love it.
That's perfect. If you think everything that I'm saying is a compliment, then we're going to get along famously. This is working out very well.
We're doing well.
All right. This is great because, as you know, John does a political show, right?
Yeah. Why?
He's terrible at it.
So why? It's almost like that's what's popular. So he did a political show. It's almost like he couldn't do a show on real estate after he quit. I can't even. These people are insane. Go on, buddy.
So he starts to talk to Opie, Opie's politics are bizarre. He has no stance on anything. When he gets into politics, it's always hilarious. And yet, Opie is better at talking about politics than Stuttering John is.
I don't believe Biden's going to make my life any better. But more importantly, people that count on a politician making their lives better, I don't see Joe Biden moving the needle much. These guys don't move the needle much in the end, you know. I think it's going to be pretty much the same old, same old. I mean, he's a career politician down there in Washington. He's had 47 fucking years at this thing.
He just shit all over Stuttering John's entire format of his show. John's format is like, this is the most important thing that we have to get Trump out. We have to get Biden in. It's the most important thing in the world. Opie goes, do you really think who's president matters that much? It doesn't. Like, what are you, stupid? Yeah. Which was great because John loses his mind.
I mean, is he going to figure out the healthcare issue in America? Is he going to be able to figure out the tax thing? Yeah. Is he going to figure out, you really believe all this? That finally we got a president that's going to do right by the people. My God. Really?
Oh, that's Opie so fucking glorious.
John 0. That's unbelievable. Yeah. You're getting bested by Opie in a political conversation. Stuttering John is being fooled by all these fucking media outlets that are like, the most important thing in the world is who's president. Why? Why would that be the most important thing in the world? I just live my life every day without the president affecting me in any single fucking way. You idiot. And then he thinks that maybe the reason why Anthony Cumia is trashing him, the word he uses over and over again, he's trashing me. He's trashing me. I can't believe he's trashing me. Is maybe because they have different political views. He asked Opie. Yeah, go ahead, Geno.
It's his galling lack of talent.
Yes.
It's how he just turned on Anthony. Like Anthony even like later on the show, he's like, it's like, I can't remember the last time I was on. Yeah, you can. You remember it vividly because they even had me come in to just shit all over him. Like, and he's like, I think it was that, you know exactly when it was. And he's like, and I had to cancel because of this. No one asked you to be on.
That is like a really funny thing.
Chrissy, the reason why you were muted is you told me your phone was dying.
But there's no way the audio struggles for me.
Chrissy.
Wait, let's listen.
All right, let's listen to her and Frank.
Me?
Damn it!
Oh, how much did you hear?
I'm paying way too much attention to the chat today. It's really fucking me up. I thought your phone was dying, Chrissy. That's why we let you go.
It was dying, and then I came back in the car to charge it. Now I'm back, baby.
Did you have a comment about this Stuttering John Opie debacle? By the way, this was a Super Bowl for WATP. Stuttering John and Opie together. I'm pissed that we're 3 hours into the show already because I have so much to talk about.
A lot. So what happened? Stuttering John was on Opie's show?
Well, the funny part is that
Stuttering John's show.
Opie was on Stuttering John's show, but what Opie does is he records the shows and then puts them on his own podcast anyway. So you're always on Opie's show, no matter what you're doing. You can be at the grocery store and you're on Opie's show.
Wow. He deserves to get zooed.
All right. I've seen a lot of Zood talk over here.
I don't even know what Zood is.
Nobody does, Geno.
It's when you do a podcast from a zoo.
Oh, there you go. I got it now. Joe Biden is one. Fuck that.
All right. So what happens here is John is trying to figure out why Anthony Cumia doesn't like him, and he thinks maybe it's because they have different politics. So he asks Opie this.
Could it be because, I'm a liberal and he's a conservative that he's angry with my politics?
What John's not understanding is that Opie would have no idea why Anthony doesn't like him. Opie and Anthony do not talk to each other anymore.
Nope.
It's
And
been
hadn't for
years.
Yeah.
And John brings him on the show thinking he's going to be an insider.
But it's funny because I can't figure out why Scarlett Johansson won't fuck me. Is it because I'm a Capricorn and she's a Libra? I don't get it.
So
doesn't make sense to me.
Opie tries to answer this question, which he can't answer. Is the reason why he doesn't like me because of this? How would he know? He doesn't know. He's not inside Anthony's brain. So Opie goes through a long explanation, doesn't answer the question, and then John brings it back to that again.
Well, yeah, but so what I'm asking, is that why he's fucking beating up on me because he doesn't like my politics?
No, it's because you're an easy target. You're a stuttering buffoon who thinks you're talented. We all enjoy goofing on you. That's why we make fun of you, John. We're not trashing
I'm just fantasizing that Opie is saying this on the actual podcast to him right now. I'm fantasizing.
Wouldn't that be
Carl.
amazing? Like, John,
It'd be great.
The reason why we people trash you, they're not even trashing you. They're goofing on you. You're easy to goof on. It's actually great fodder. That's why we're doing
Here's the thing.
this.
We've all lied to ourselves. We've lied to ourselves before. I think he honestly doesn't understand. Like, that's how sad it's got to be him. He's lied to himself so long. He honestly believes that he did a show and Artie couldn't stop laughing, and that that Artie called him up and said, excuse me, and Anthony couldn't stop laughing, that Anthony called him up and said, I want you to be in this seat, but Artie talked him out of it. He believes this stuff.
He believes his own bullshit.
He believes it.
All
mean, in what world would you rather have the guy that was the greatest second seat in the history of radio? The greatest second seat in the history of radio. When would you want fucking to replace him with the guy that was in that same studio and couldn't fuck? Don't you think if you were better, you would have taken that seat from him? Don't you think if you were better the second he left, you would have taken that seat from him? In what world do you believe that someone said, look, I'm not going to ask Art, I'm going to ask you because you're better? You're not. And by the way, in this hour-and-a-half podcast, he didn't stutter once because I said he never had a stutter. He fucking tripped on his word once and then said he was stuttering, but he never had a stutter. Another thing that drove him nuts on that podcast was I said, if you want him to lose his stutter, ask him to do his plugs. Never fucking tripped on a word there. He is the COVID of comedy. He's a fucking hoax. He's a joke.
And what's funny is that they think Anthony's the guy who's not happy.
I know he's just simply not a happy person,
Yeah, well, why?
I don't know.
These are two guys who spend an hour talking about the fact that Anthony talks shit about them, which is by the way, comedy and jokes. And they're obsessed with this, and they're like, the guy's obviously not a happy person. Project much? I think you guys are the unhappy people in this scenario.
I spend time with Anthony. Our shows cross over now. Me and Aaron in Hot Water 2 to 3:30. He comes in at 4 with Dave Landau. And there's so many times I'll be like, dude, thanks so. And he's like, no, dude, thank you. Like, he is like, we go out drinking afterwards. Sometimes I mean, he gets angry. Like, I think I'm a very happy person, but I get angry because life is so easy. Like, when something goes wrong, yeah, I'm going to yell. But I'm happy enough. Like, I don't sit there and tell everyone I'm in a great mood all the time, but I am. But when I'm shitty, you know it. These guys are just, They live their life just fucking wishing what could have been, living in regret. They're fucking unhappy, miserable people. And they you said it, they project it onto other people. Let me tell you, Anthony's miserable. Why? Because he lives in a mansion. He fucks a chick half his age, and he fucking gets to do a podcast as a hobby and make money doing it. Really?
It doesn't make a lot of sense. I've spent very little time with Anthony. I've hung out with him very, very few and far between incidents, and he seems extremely happy. He's living his best life. He used to be a tin knocker, for Christ's sake.
God. Dude, we sit there just laughing at how insane this is. Do you think you'd be happy if you were what you just described, or if you were a guy that it's coming out more and more that you were the asshole in the trio that was Opie and Anthony and Jim, and you never liked it, and you wanted Ron and Fez thrown off the station? Do you think you'd be unhappy if you were a guy that's doing a low-level podcast that no one listens to? You failed at everything in between. Remember, he was selling real estate. Remember, he said he was running for governor.
Yep.
Like, you have no fucking compass, and you don't know. You're miserable. Like, I'm grounded by the fact that no matter what I do, I've said that my niece and nephew think I'm hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, my family and friends are fantastic. I get paid to tell dick jokes. I fucking love sports, and I got hired to write a sheet at night for radio. So the shit I'm bitching about, instead of bitching at people and driving them nuts, them insane, I put it in it, and they give me money for it. It's insane.
Well, you won't believe this, though, Geno. Even though they talked about Anthony for over an hour, they don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't really care if he goes. Honestly, dude, he's not in my universe. Like, I don't really care that much. I don't even care like that much. It's just
what timestamp is that in the podcast that they don't care? How long have they been talking about him now? Probably a minute. What's that? Probably a minute 20 that was.
No. At this point, we're 30 minutes into the show. And he's still explaining that he doesn't care.
Like, that much? It's just that, like, I'll get people saying, oh, Anthony's trashing you again. And I'll be like, why? What the hell did I do this time?
Isn't it funny? When you say you don't care about something and then talk about it for an hour, that's the opposite of not caring.
Well, let me take it in a different direction, and we'll use what's it called? Logic.
Yes.
No one tells Anthony that fucking that John's bashing him, because no one that likes Anthony likes John. No one is saying, should I listen to Anthony, Cumia, and Landau today, or should I listen to John? No one. But obviously people would go back to John and be like, hey, I'm listening to Anthony, fucking, if that's even true. But no one is going to Anthony saying John's bad-mouthing. Nobody. Well, no one listens.
The funny thing is, I've seen this unfold, is John just reacts to shit. So people just make shit up, and they'll be like, oh, Anthony's talking about your kids again. And he goes off for an hour. This fucking guy, next time I see him, I'm going to murder him. And then like 2 days later, he gets on, he's like, I guess that wasn't true. I take it all back. Like, that's why people say this shit to you, you moron. Because you fall for it every fucking time. Here's an example of him talking about when Anthony bashes him. Anthony must not have a very good reach because he only gets like one tweet about it.
Even if he does, believe it or not, as popular as he thinks he is in his own head, it's only like one tweet that'll say Anthony trashed you again. It's like, but why?
The reason why it's only one tweet is because that one guy is trolling you, you moron. They're trying to get a reaction, and it always works.
I mean, maybe Anthony hired someone to troll John like he does. What a douche.
He literally does that. Listen to this. Opie is talking about the fact that he knows for a fact Anthony sets up Twitter accounts just to troll him. You have to let this play through, and then we got to discuss this.
I got a person that's well in the know that basically told me that he starts Twitter troll accounts to attack me on a regular basis. I'm like, and that's why the recent rant, I'm like, just leave me the fuck alone.
Opie is saying Anthony is setting up Twitter troll accounts to attack him. He has it on good authority, Geno, that this is what Anthony's doing with his time. I'd love to hear your take on this.
You know what Anthony's Twitter account currently is?
I do, yes, Compound Boss.
It's Compound. Well, it's not him. It's run by him because Anthony's banned on Twitter. Now, I too am banned on Twitter. I'm under Diamond Eugene 1 now. It's like my 5th one because we become Anne Frank on Twitter. They fucking look for you, and the second they find you, they're like, you're banned, and they take you down. You know, literally, I'm on Twitter now because a fan of mine made an account under his email. Whenever it's like verify your thing, I have to email him. It's a pain in the ass. But Anthony, who's banned on Twitter, would go through all of that trouble, all of that fucking pain in the ass trouble multiple times to troll John.
According to Opie, yes, that's what he's doing with his free time.
Whatever. Are you insane? That shows that I could see if he had a regular account, you could believe it. You understand? But he's banned, and it's nearly impossible. It's not nearly, but it's such a pain in the ass to set up he'd have to open a new phone line. He'd have to buy a new laptop just to do that.
Well, that's the funny thing. So you were talking before about how these guys convince themselves that they're not that bad. Opie thinks there's no way there's dozens or hundreds of people who all think I suck on the internet. It must be one guy setting up multiple accounts. No, it's really that many people who think you suck and want you to hear about it.
Yeah, that's such a great. It's like that's the delusion. It's like obviously it's Anthony. He's the only one who hates me. So many people hate you, and they don't want to hate you. You make yourself hateable. If you had just gone away, it would have been fine. But you're like, it wasn't my fault. It was them. It was your fault. It's a fact. If 99% of the industry is saying you are hard to work with, like I heard this story one time. There's a story that they got rid of Ron and Fez because because Opie wanted to be just Opie and Anthony. It's our station because they were good. Back before Fez was insane. They were so good, it was stealing their shine. And, Jim and Anthony don't care. They just show up, have their drink, or whatever. And did you get to the clip? Are we covering the clip where he's like, obviously we're covering the clip when he goes, can you believe this douchebag won't even look at me or whatever it was? That clip, do we have that?
I don't, only because he's told that story so many times. I
but
feel
here's
like it's
the
well
thing.
documented.
He says in this podcast, he's like, and then he throws Jim under the bus, saying, it was meant for Jim. He's not throwing Jim under the bus. He knows Jim can take a joke. He knows Jim is so self-aware of how good he is on this show that it couldn't have been for him. But you're dumb enough to believe that lie because you believe so many lies you tell yourself every day. But when you say, he threw Jim under the bus and said it was him, how is that throwing Jim under the bus saying, thank God Jim will play along with this because Jim is on my side? How's that throwing him under the bus?
Yeah, that's an old story that we all know about. Apparently, so Opie and Anthony got to a point where they wouldn't even look at each other in the studio when they were doing the show. Anthony tried to text Jim Norton, the little cunt won't even look at me, and he sent it to Opie by mistake. And that was really a big undoing of the show.
It's so perfect, but that's the delusion they live in. It's like, well, obviously he threw Jim under Jim. He just looked at Jim for a life raft with this classic gap that's partly responsible for my career. So I thank God for that moment every day.
So they talk about Jim Norton for a second because, as you know, Stuttering John loves Jim Norton because I went on Chip Chipperson and bashed John, and then of course Norton called John to give him a heads up on that. He didn't take it down. He just gave him a heads up on it. So Norton's the best. Opie hates Jim Norton. So they trash him for a second, and then they get right back to Anthony with this question.
So when Anthony is trashing you, what is he trashing you about now?
And because John is steering the conversation. Opie doesn't even want to talk about Anthony. He's not.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to have this conversation. And it's all they talk about the entire time. So he asks him, what is he bashing you about? And of course, Opie's answer is, I don't listen to his show. I don't know. I just hear people say that he's bashing me. Opie, I'll tell you the answer. You're doing Facebook Live to 200 people. You used to talk to millions of people on the radio. That's what we're all goofing on. That's the funny thing about you, Opie. Your show sucks.
And you don't when he tells you that, he's like, he acts like it's a plan. Not like he's out of options. He's like, I really just focused on my Facebook Live. Well, congratulate. Yeah, you can't even say that. Let me say it again. I'm really just focusing on my Facebook Live. That's not a thing.
No,
that's just you fucking killing time in the morning, trying to validate that you have a career when you don't.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Geno, because many times Opie has pretended that this is what he wants to do. He started out in podcasting, working for Westwood One. He thought it was going to be this big show with Carl Louise as his co-host. Obviously, it did not become a big show. It lost ratings or lost listenership, and Westwood One kicked him off the network. So now he's just on his own, and now he's just talking to his Facebook Live group. And he pretends that that's what he wants to be doing, which no one could possibly believe. And this is him explaining, and every now and then the truth comes out. Every now and then. This is him explaining that he does want to be better than this.
What we accomplished is simply amazing. I know it's amazing because I'm trying to do it again in a way, and it's not easy, man. No.
So he admits he's trying to get back on the top of the hill again, even though every other word out of his mouth is that he doesn't care and he likes what he's doing. He's never had more fun. Everything's great.
I mean,
I love it when that shit like that slips out.
Yeah, and it's so, like, the thing that made me laugh is when he's just telling stories. It's got to be like a story time where he's like, yeah, there was a point when I walked away from the show and Karmazin came and yelled at me. That didn't happen. like if you listen to Anthony talk and not talk about Opie, just tell stories. He's like whenever it came time to renew the contract, Anthony's like, yeah, just take whatever they give you. And Opie would want 3 years. He would want guaranteed money. He was the guy that always demanded money and stuff.
Right.
It was never. He would never say, well, I'm not having fun with this. You just wanted the money. You're all about ego and insecurity.
Yeah, he was playing hardball because everyone else just wanted to sign a long-term deal, make their millions of dollars a year and get it locked up. And this guy, for whatever reason, decided, I'm going to sign 2-year deals and I'm going to be a prick about it every single time we renegotiate, try to get as much money as possible. And now he's trying to spin it as, I was done with that show.
It's almost like he admits he's planning. Like, let me tell you, Anthony, and I'm going to say, we don't work. The money just shows up when you're having fun. Like, and that was Andy's like, just take another year. Just take it, whatever they give us. Because he didn't even think about it. He's like, I'm making great money, having fun. But Opie was obviously like, look, I don't know how much longer I can put up with this shit. I need as much money as possible. It was work for him. And I'll say it again. I'll call back to fucking, what I said earlier. That's its own punishment. When you're doing this as a job, oh my God, that's gotta suck. And you see how it does.
So John continues to say, I don't know why Anthony Cumia is trashing me.
I don't ever watch a show, nor will I ever watch a show. Would I do a show again? Sure, because I don't really have a problem with it. I just don't understand why. Like, I get tweets, oh, Anthony's trashing you again. I'm going, what the fuck did I do?
John, you threatened him. Someone tweeted you, or someone was in your YouTube chat and said that he was talking shit about you, and you went off for an hour about how you were going to fight him the next time you were in New York City. And then he goes, I don't understand why this guy's bashing me. I don't even know what happened here. How do you not know that? You're starting all this shit, you moron. And then Opie, who's in his Zen room with the candle lit, turns into high voice Opie here.
And now he trashes me on a regular basis. I want to call him and go, dude, I know where you came from. What the fuck's wrong with you? You don't have to like me, but Jesus Christ.
I don't think that Zen room is working out for him.
Yeah, it doesn't. It seems like it should just be the man cave he wants to call it, but you need something cool in there to call it a man cave.
Right.
Just where he goes to cry. It's where he goes to cry saying, how did I fuck up all that money? How did I do that?
So they're talking about Anthony for an hour, and then they proclaim that Anthony will be watching this.
I don't go out of my way to trash him. I don't go out of my way to talk about him. So it's just weird that he's focused on me and you, like, on his shows. I don't know. It's fucking lunacy.
Well, and he's watching this, which is really fucking.
Of course he is.
So
are you out of your mind?
They're talking about him for an hour, and they're like, this idiot's actually watching this right now. First off, he's not. He's going to hear about it from me and Geno. We're the ones reporting this back to Anthony.
Oh, my God.
We're doing the work here.
Here's the thing. My routine, not that you guys need to know, but after I get done the show, not much longer because it's getting cold, I will walk back. I'll walk an hour and a half back from Midtown to my apartment up here in fabulous East Harlem. It's a great place to get mangoes in a slice bag. And I will listen to Anthony and Dave for usually the first hour. Sometimes longer if it's hilarious, sometimes shorter if there's something big going on and something else. But zero times has he brought him up. 0 times has he brought up, like, since they switched to afternoons. I can get not once ever, because if they did, I would be listening and laughing and calling in.
Honestly, the only time he's talked about Stuttering John in the last 3 months is when I was a guest on the show. And I brought some clips from Stuttering John's show.
I listened. Believe you me, I wanted to call in. I'm like, let me stay out of Carl's way because this is glorious. But that was about a month ago. I remember.
Other than that, he never talks about Stuttering John because Stuttering John is on nobody's radar but ours and maybe Revenge of the Sis. But other than that, nobody's talking about Stuttering John. And this clip right here, we got to run through these clips, Geno, because I have other shit to do today. But this clip right here is why both Opie and John are WATP favorites. They're both so bad at podcasting.
And what were you saying, by the way? I just lost my thought.
No, I'm saying, like, what?
These are two professional broadcasters talking on a podcast.
That's funnier than anything we've done today, and I've been laughing all day. That is so, because it's one thing when those dopey broads are doing, because we know they don't have talent. But these guys, you want to believe there was a time, and that's what galls me about John as well. Like Opie And you said it, Opie's good enough at broadcasting where John was so awful, Opie didn't come off as terrible in this. But
yes.
The thing that always got me about these Stern guys, and let me tell you, Jackie the Joke Man, I love him. Like, I used to bash him. You're like, he's not a comedian. He just tells jokes. But you meet the guy once, and you're like, oh, I get it. This guy loves telling jokes so much, people made him get on stage and do it, and he made a living doing it. But these other idiots, they think Howard Stern was they look at Howard Stern like he was a struggling DJ that's like, I got to surround myself with talent. So he went out and he got Stuttering John, that genius, and Sal the stockbroker. These are the guys that are like, these will save the flash in the pan that is Howard Stern. And John believes that.
Yeah, he's an
idiot. He believes it.
And what's amazing to me is I've documented on this show, and I would say that I've done a thorough job of this, that Opie is terrible at podcasting and broadcasting when he's on his own. But for some reason, when it's him versus Stuttering John, he's the funnier of the two. This is incredible to me. We finally know who's the worst podcaster. The answer is Stuttering John. Opie is actually funny. Now, there's going to be a little bit of silence in this clip, but let it play out because this is actually brilliantly done.
Yeah, and thank you so much for doing the show, man. I mean,
yeah, right on.
And, next time I'm in New York, I'll certainly do yours.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Opie gave him nothing, which was hilarious. He invited himself on to Opie's show. And Opie needs guests, trust me. He needs someone to fucking talk to. And even Opie's just like, pass, that's fine. We're actually booked up through February, but yeah, thanks.
So good, I forgot about that's the best.
That was actually Opie being funny. I give him credit for that one.
Oh, he sat there like,
I like that Opie puts him in his place on this clip too. John always talks about how Artie Lang says we were never friends, and Anthony's saying that we were never friends, and John's like, but I was their friend. I was their friend.
Like, it's so easy to say that. Well, you were never my friend.
Right. Well, he's doing some right. He's got us talking about him, so I don't really talk about him in general. Like I said, every once in a while, it'll get under my skin a little bit, and I'll rant and rave, and then I'll move on with my fucking life and not even think about it.
I don't plan. Opie, I don't really talk to him. I don't talk about him at all.
John, even when he was promoting that Opie was going to come on, he promoted the fact they were going to talk about Anthony Cumia the whole time. That's all he wanted to do. Opie at one point gets fed up. He's just like, John, I don't talk to this guy anymore. I don't really talk about him. There was that one show I put out. Can we talk about anything else, please?
Yes. I just fucking was so numb to him saying I don't talk about it anymore. It's like I missed that. And that's the end of the podcast.
So this is Opie talking about what he does now because John is oblivious to what Opie is doing on the Opie radio show. And I just have to point this out because it's fun.
Yeah.
And I record it with a professional mic, even though I'm on Facebook Live through my phone. And
he records his podcast on a professional mic. Producer Chris, do you know what kind of professional mic Opie is using?
The same one I
bragging.
have?
Yeah, a Zoom recorder. It is a Zoom recorder is what he's using to record his podcast.
Why would you even say that?
That's not impressive.
It's like you're trying to impress me. Like, I'm going to be 5.5 years old. Who can't? Obviously, you're using a professional mic.
I would hope so. You're a multi-millionaire. You might be able to buy a decent microphone, I guess.
The only time to point it out would be if it's the opposite in both ways. If you have a nationally syndicated podcast, and you're like, and by the way, I'm doing this on my fucking phone headset, which John actually was at the beginning of this fucking podcast.
Yes. And John's talking about Opie with Bubba the Love Sponge because, as you know, Bubba asked Opie to team up and get a show back on Sirius. And of course, John has to make this about him. This clip is 5 seconds long, and there's two things going on. John can't pronounce words, and he has to make it about him.
It's so funny. I had Bubba on my show.
I had Bubber on my show. What kind of accent is that? You turned Bubba into Bubber. That's not an accent.
He does that, and honestly, God, he does that. I honestly think because he thinks that's his brand. He does. Like he doesn't still stutter. He's
Geno, I'm going to disagree with you here, buddy.
Oh, okay.
He's that moronic. This guy is a moron.
Well, can I get partial credit? Because his brand is moronic, whether he realizes it or not, but fine.
Fair enough.
I'm trying to steal that one from the judges. I'm trying to steal that fucking electoral vote. Go on.
So, and this is the last thing I'm going to play about Anthony Cumia, but John is trying to get the dirt from Opie because John needs the dirt. And Opie's kind of playing along, but not really.
Well, I mean, did you ever hear Anthony use the N-word?
Oh my God! I forgot about that.
I guess. What is this? 60 Minutes, Stuttering John? Jesus Christ!
I knew you were gonna say something like that.
What the fuck?
Unbelievable.
You're just giving him more fodder to go after you.
Yes, this is what John's not understanding. He's like, I don't know why this guy is going after me, and he's asking his co-host if he's ever heard him use the N-word. Like, what are we trying to accomplish right now, John? We're trying to put Anthony in a racist jail? What are we trying to do right now?
It's almost like he's a punch-drunk fighter, and he didn't get enough stuff. He didn't get anything he wanted. He's like, let me just swing for the fences. He's Dave Kingman there.
Yes.
He's Dave Kingman, and he struck out 18 times this week, but he's still swinging for the fences with 19. He's digging it. You ever heard him say, he should have just said the N-word. He should have just gone for broke. Because it's like this will get him. No one cares. Somehow you managed to bore Opie himself, whose brand is boring. I don't know how you did that.
That's his whole format, is boring people to death. And even Opie's like, all right, can we move on and talk about something else? John, you'll be surprised to learn, his nature is very kind-hearted.
And I don't wish him anything bad. That's not in my nature. I don't wish anybody anything bad. And that's just who I am. My motto has always been, I always like to help people. What the hell else are we here for?
I don't even have to comment on that. I'll just let that sit there. I think I've documented how much he bashes people and threatens them.
If you Google John, Stuttering John, motto, I can guarantee you will get 400 things that don't have any of those words in them. Maybe hell, as in what the hell was I thinking Googling Stuttering John's motto?
Well, as we know, John sent a tweet to Artie telling him the next time he attempted suicide, he hopes he's successful at it. And now John is pretending that wasn't a big deal.
I don't wish any harm on Artie. I know I once tweeted something like that, but it was all out of the Twitter war that I was having with him, and people take it out of context, and then it sounds like it was bad. Because I was telling him the next time he tries to kill himself, be successful.
Yeah, people are just taking that out of context. You know, this guy who's attempted suicide and has a lot of demons, and I said, you should kill yourself? People took that out of context.
Yeah, that's you misread it. You misread kill yourself. You misread two words. He threatened me in the past year, and not threatened because he's a buffoon, but he still brings up that you were on the Tonight Show. But he's like, let's just say I know some heavy hitters in New York. It rhymes with Gotti, and they'll come after you. And I'm like, let me tell you something you might not have picked up in the past hour and a half. I'm a bit of a coward. And if I really felt a threat, I'd be like, oh, shit. It's like, stop just talking to hear yourself talk. Here's my advice to him. Talk and pretend you other people want to hear you talk. Because that's what he does. That's what Kate Willett does. Like, they live in an echo chamber. That's what you should title. That is so it's so true. And he just says shit like this will make me look like
of Geno saying echo chamber.
Yeah, please.
Number 6 is
producer
the
Chris. Abortion and the ums and the uhs, because it's just insane.
Oh, by the way, speaking of producer Chris, you are now one of Stuttering John's trolls. Did you know that?
Yeah.
This is exciting. So,
please.
Geno, one of the things that's going on with John is that people who listen to this show go on his show and they have these names that only we would know. They're not really who they say they are. And John doesn't know what the fuck's going on. It's always funny to me, so I have to play this.
I appreciate every super chat, and I'm...
Holy shit, how much saliva is in his mouth right there? Let's hear that again.
I appreciate every super chat,
gross.
and I'm sick of the producer Chris is a troll, and I know he's a troll, and that's what he's trying to do. He's just trying to, get people to talk, and I see the people that are naive enough are actually responding to him.
So that's not actually our producer, Chris, but we always appreciate when people are in there trolling him.
God, fucking listening to him is even unappetizing at this point. That's incredible.
Geno, I have one more clip on my board that I have to play after I do this.
Ba, 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 ba.
There's a guy named I've Got None. He's out of Russia. He's on our Patreon. He's been sending me a bunch of clips from Opie lately, and I just have one clip that I want to play. Someone sends Opie a $10 super chat. I love the fact that here are these people who used to make tons of money in the entertainment industry, and now they're excited about people giving them super chats.
Yeah, I never heard of a super chat till this podcast.
Okay, this is Opie reacting to someone giving him $10.
7-8 months. $10 by Steve Sharp. Oh my God. I'm excited. I don't make money anymore, so this is fun.
This is true. Opie does not have sponsors. I haven't heard an ad read on his show in months. And now he's getting $10 while he's on a windy beach and pretending to do a podcast. And he's very excited about $10, which is always fun. Oh, Geno. We have done it all, buddy. I thank you so much for coming on. Geno Bisconte, you can catch him every day on In Hot Water, a.k.a. In Arizona, I believe is the new show title.
I love you, Carl, for paying attention. It's In Hot Water, but
In Hot Water with Aaron Berg.
They're just brilliant. Like, we had a skit you probably are familiar with for like a month called Cookie Boy, just because I said, I was asking the booth a question. I'm like, what do you think this number is? And then Berg's not in the booth. I'm like, where's Berg? He's like, he's outside. He walks in eating a cookie. I'm like, what do you think, Cookie Boy? And he just starts putting up cookies and talking like them, whatever. And then like earlier this week, I was talking about the election. I'm like, in Arizona. He's like, what? Are we in Arizona? Is that? And it just becomes a thing. And I hold on for dear life. And we have a Patreon every Friday called Gum Fridays. Make sure you subscribe to that. It's all on my website, genobisconte.com. But oh my God, thank you so much.
Who are these